suspended.
I think it's like
Are we live? People deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning back in. Good afternoon to those of you in the United Kingdom. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and in some cases, good night. I'm here to review, or better yet, preview Arsenal versus Spurs. My guy Fuad's going to be here in a minute, people. Just before that, I want to touch on Arsenal's press conference, or better yet, Mikel Arteta's press conference. One love to the Twitch gang out there as well, because you lot absolutely, listen to what I say, and you're trying to help me on this quest to build up this Twitch page and get to 10k subs hopefully before the end of the year, or followers, or whatever you want to refer to it as. Please make sure you're continuing to follow and subscribe, definitely if you've got Amazon Prime. I hope everyone's doing well and safe, and I hope everyone's in good spirits. I'm feeling good, man. I'm a bit nervous going into the North London derby, but I'm feeling as good as I can, and I appreciate that. Just before obviously I get through in the building, people, I wanted to touch on what Arsenal, or better yet, Arteta has had to say in his press conference. Good news is that everybody appears to be fit at our football club. But away from that, we know this is an emotionally charged game. But what really drew my attention in his press conference is, the fact that he'll be managing in front of fans for the first time. He said, to be fair, I can't wait to have that experience, even right now, after such a long time without them. I've experienced some London derbies, but without supporters. And I am saying supporters because I think that it is the word to describe the people who are behind our football club. What they have done in the last few weeks have been pretty special. They only want what is best for the club, and it is very different to just being a fan. I think Arteta is pretty smart there, because I think he's changed his language and how he refers to, or how he speaks or comes across with fans, because I think sometimes he's come across as, just because you don't condone what's going on the football field, or wholeheartedly agree, or just ask questions, that you might not be a fan. So I think he's very smart in that terminology. A fan and a supporter behave in different ways, and what we have experienced in past two games is pretty unique, and it is related to our history. It's people who respect and want to promote the values that have been installed in this club by many people who have been in charge here. It is just a privilege to see how they are able to understand the intelligence they have shown, because it comes from the knowledge they know about our history. They know what we want to do, what we want to achieve, and they are fully behind the team. Fair play. Big up everybody locked in. Boy. You lot messed up against Villa, in it. Really had a chance to get something out the game with Bruno, and he's absolutely skied it. The American Gooner, I'm doing well and safe, my guy, man. I hope you are as well. Toby said we're gonna get killed if we don't turn up. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I don't think we're gonna learn too much about Arsenal Football Club, even if we win. But for me, form goes out the window to a degree. We probably expect Harry Kane to score and things, but you need to show me that you can play a wounded animal in Spurs and strike when the time's right. You should be getting 3 points. We should be building blocks now. We should be making movements as well. You beat Spurs, you set yourself up for an informed Brighton in the right way. It's all about the manner of the performance. I think if we're on the front foot, if we pick the right midfield, we have half a chance. Beyond that, I'm not too sure, people. Like I said, form to a degree goes out the window. So I want to see confidence. I want to see desire. I want to see a result, really and truly. As I said, I do think there'll be a reaction from Spurs. I've previously said I'm very nervous because they've, the last two games, they've been woeful. So again, and if I'm honest with you, I'm happy to beat Norwich and Burnley, but they're two wins against two of the worst teams in the league. Really, the games could have went different ways, but at the same time, we did what we needed to do. I'm not going to complain. On whether form comes into a derby, he said there's a certain level of confidence when you are on a winning run that is really positive to face a big match, but after, when the ball is rolling, it is a completely different context. We are playing at home. We will have our people behind us, and they will create an incredible climate that you have to be able to enjoy and make the most of it. On whether Lacazette will be involved, he said everyone has a chance. We will not reveal what we will do in terms of the lineup, but obviously there are a few positions we are addressing, and we'll try to make the right decisions. On who will play in goal, obviously he's playing a bit coy on several things. Well done for trying. You will see the lineup on Sunday. As you can understand, we cannot give anything away. On whether whoever starts in goal should be seen as the number one, it's one more game, a really important game, but we are in September, so there are still 8 or 9 months to go in the competition. And he's not one sec, people. He's not absolutely wrong in that regards. He's talking 100% facts, really and truly. But obviously, he's gonna play coy. He needs to call a spade a spade. I'm gonna get it back up. I'm just sending if you had a link. Just sending. Oh, I didn't send him the right link there. Apologies, I sent him the wrong thing there. Where's the invite? Stop! You're getting in the way. Can't even. Sorry, folks. Accident. G. Here. There's that. But yeah, man. Obviously, we need to put in a performance. What's going on? Let me get this back. Everything's just going walkie talkies for you guys, people. Let's go back. But yeah, I understand he can't give too much away for the London derby, but we have to call a spade a spade. We're in September. We should know the number one. The jury is still out on Ramsdale. You know, there will be a time where he kind of struggles, but at the same time, you got to know these things. You've got to know who your centre halves partnership primarily is. You've got to know who your goalie is, especially when we've just signed however many people, particularly defenders. He knows, we know. He's just not going to say it. Obviously, you've got to manage the squad well. You can't really make it be known beyond the obvious that Leno isn't really in the main plans like that. On what the game means to the players, he said, they do, and I will make sure that they understand what it means, the history between the two clubs, and where this rivalry comes from, and what it means emotionally to all our supporters. You have to play this game with slightly a different skin because there's more at stake. On Tottenham's form, which goes out the window, as I mentioned, when the ball is rolling, I think we all forget where we are. We are all just trying to compete to win the football match. It won't be any different from them, and both teams are going to try and win regardless, because they have the necessity, we have the necessity, and then we want to pick up points. We know what it means for us this game, and I'm sure we're going to try our best. He spoke on Harry Kane's deeper role, where we know what he's on. Interestingly enough, on Thomas Partey, and let me get my guy in because I just see he's here now. Hey, forget this for a sec. What are you saying, bro?
All good, bro. What you saying, man? Appreciate you having me on, man.
Minor, bro. Minor. Apologies for getting you. Know, I was running behind with with lateness and whatnot. I've got you a couple
All good.
minutes late, man.
All good.
What are you saying
It
going into
happens.
the derby, though, man? What's your feelings?
Brother, I can't lie to you. Hey, for the first time in a long time, I'm not looking forward to a North London derby because usually I'm like, there's something on the line. It's always usually we've played each other towards the end of the last 2 seasons as well. So there's always been the European spots on the line. But I'm like, yo, this one coming off a back-to-back 3-0s, like it's deflated that little early run we went on. But yo, you lot have won the last 2 games as well at the Emirates. We never tend to do well. I don't think we've won there in what now, 12, 13 years or something like that. I think the 3-2
That's why
where
I'm shook,
Eunice
bro.
Kabul got the winner. Yeah. So for me, it's like, and that might be a thing where, runs are there to be broken. But if you look at all the omens, it kind of doesn't favor us at the minute. And when I look at this team, how I've been judging this Spurs team this season, I've not been kind of too impressed with kind of the strides I feel like we've been doing moving forward. So I'm not really convinced even we've fully hit our stride yet to be able to go to the Emirates and pull a result out just yet. But who knows, man? The Premier League nowadays, you know what I mean? You can throw up anything. The way Arsenal are playing, the way Spurs are playing, you don't know what kind of team you're going to get week by week. So, you know what I mean? We just got to take it as it comes.
That's why I'm shook, bro, because I mean, it's that classic old saying, form goes out the window. And I look at it, I'd be more confident if you lot were coming into this winning games. And I mean, as you said there perfectly, things are there to be broken. Kane can make himself a hero again. Other players by that ilk can also do the same. You can also, I don't want to be that guy, but it can serve as a quote unquote kickstart of a season, winning a game like that, as much as you can say, because I think there's a lot of similarities between the two clubs. Both are being run as a mess. There's a lack of ambition. There's all these things you say about Spurs and Arsenal. There's a lot of parallels. So even if we win, lose, or draw, I don't think there's too many conclusions. For me as an Arsenal fan, it's about how we play. If we lose to Spurs, let it be because Kane's a wonderful player, Ndombele or the whole 11 were just better. Don't be the self-capitulating and things. And for me, I need to know we can play a wounded beast. Now you've got to be careful when you wound something because they can hit back, but it's never been a better time. You lot were kind of flying high at the start. You're struggling now, as you said, 2 back-to-back L's in London games themselves. If you can't show me you can be cerebral, play this team and get a couple points, then you can't really do it. And I don't, as an Arsenal fan, because of where we are, I'm not really looking at the London, what we're doing and them things there. So I'm looking more so at Brighton next week. You put in a performance this week, you might be able to say something away to Brighton. And I don't know if you've seen Arsenal fixtures, but from now till January the 1st, it's peak for us, bro. It's absolutely peak.
It's
Like
a
we've got
running.
some difficult ones, bro.
And what you said there as well about like how you want to see the team play out for me, I feel like that's the bare minimum for a North London derby. And I think that
Mm.
was the thing on the back end of Jose the last time we played last season. Was the thing I was so disappointed about was how we lost that game, how we looked so like gutless, spineless, like I remember Doherty just getting absolutely
Crumbling.
slotted out by Odegaard and Tierney on that left side. And I just thought, yo, why are we doing this to ourselves almost like? And it's the thing, that's where I kind of look at the players where I'm thinking, yo, you've had 2-3-0 London derby defeats. Show me something. And I'm all for, like, you know, early season, people are using the excuse of, yo, players haven't had a full preseason. Some are coming back off the Euros. And even just like you lot, we've had injuries early season. So people are like, yo, give the team time, give Nuno time. I'm all for that. But there's some games where it's like, no matter who is out there, if you are selected for this game,
Has to be a
I
certain
need
level
to
in
see
it.
blood, thunder, and tears when you come off that pitch, fam. That's the kind of energy
Right.
I expect from North London derby. So I want these players to go into that game with that same energy.
You said it there. Obviously, you kind of touched on it, and it just made me want to point a question to you. If any, what's the changes under Joe? What that word there under Jose with Nuno now? Because you kind of mentioned in a negative sense what Jose's about. Obviously, we haven't seen Nuno in a London derby, but as an Arsenal fan that's not watching you week in week out, if I was to watch Spurs this year and last year, is there any key differences or
For me,
formations or whatever?
I think the main difference I've noticed, they're kind of two very similar managers, if I'm honest. I've always said Nuno, I think, is almost like Jose Jr. But the small kind of differences I've seen is, I think, structurally as a team, what Nuno's doing is where Jose would rather have one defensive midfielder, Nuno's got the double screen action going. Because he's maybe having to switch up from the three at the back he's used to playing at Wolves. This is kind of his way of giving himself that little bit of protection. But one thing I've mainly noticed is, on Nuno doesn't ask Mora and Bergwijn or Son to track the fullbacks. He doesn't ask them like Jose would
That's
with
an area,
a
that's true.
Willian, a Mata, and then once them man are tracking back, getting back up for the counter. If you ain't got the engine there, which Jose I'm sure loves, you're dead meat on the counter. But Nuno now, he
Dead man
actually
walking.
gives us a solid base. Yeah, he gives us a solid base. So it's almost like Mora, Bergwijn, you man are runners. Kane, Son, you're just a finished end product. If Kane wants to drop deep, let him spray the passes. Regardless, you man are runners. So for me, that's the main difference I've noticed. Whereas Jose preferred an Aurier or Reguilon being high up on the counter as well. Nuno doesn't like that. He prefers that bit of protection where they kind of stay back a little bit. So small little structural changes, but it's kind of the same animal but a different beast, if you can say.
That makes sense. Where you mentioned the fullbacks, and I wanted to ask you, like, I rate Reguilon. I think he's had a bit of a tough time since he signed for Spurs. Definitely having a tough time of last few weeks. Obviously, Emerson Royal, he's just been here for a sec, but he's had baptisms of fire. Where you at with your fullbacks and whatnot? Yeah, man, he had a tough day against Zaha.
Bro,
I don't think it was that bad against
honestly,
Chelsea, but it was long for him in the second half with Alonso.
yeah, that's where it got to. And for me, honestly, I'm a little bit frustrated with our fullback situation because I honestly look at Arsenal's fullback situation and I look at Reguilon, for example. For me, I love Reguilon. I think quality player going forward. Defensively, he has some deficiencies, but over time, I think he can kink that out kind of if he's consistent enough and willing to improve. I think he's had a blip maybe since the second half of last season as well. He hasn't really recovered to form. So I want to see if he can bounce back and has that mental toughness instead of kind of like that Spanish softness. Some people might say, yeah. Do you know what I mean? A lot of players, they need that adaptation period because he came in firing out of the block. So I'm happy with
That's why I'm
Reguilon.
kind of shocked, really.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you can start off very well and set an almost unrealistic expectation of where people think players go through these dips as well, and he's still young, so I imagine it'll be part of his development. But I always look at the issue where we could have signed maybe Tierney the same time you guys signed him because we were rumored that summer as well. We instead decided to go for Sessegnon, and you look at Sessegnon's situation now; he doesn't look any closer to the first team than he was.
Can't lie, I forgot he's a Spurs player. Like, no disrespect to the young man, but I completely forgot.
Went on loan last year to Hoffenheim, was supposed to be the developmental year, didn't go exactly how it planned, and he's kind of come back this season with kind of question marks over his future.
Is he in the team? Like, is he a member of the squad?
Part of the squad. Yeah, he's a member of the squad.
I thought he went out alone again,
Bro, we still don't even know his best position. So I always look at that. We chose 25 million for Sessegnon instead of going early in the market and going for Tierney. Cool. One thing. Now this summer comes around and we've already had the right back issue with Aurier and Doherty, even Trippier in his last year. So for a number of years, the right back has been an issue. I thought, all right, Tomiyasu, I hear the name, I hear the links. I'm like, yo, I don't know who this brother is, but all the comps, they look top tier. This man can play two positions, all centre back and right back. We need that. Get him snapped up. No. We're all haggling. We go and get Emerson. And as you said, bro, he's had a baptism of fire. And these early couple games, I'm looking like, yo, I hope we're not kind of have to go through another teething period with another right back, because this will be a full season. And I look at Tomiyasu early on at Arsenal. I know people say, oh, it's Norwich, it's Burnley, but he's looked comfortable, bro. Settling in nicely. And for me, it's not even like the opposition. It's how you look when you're doing what you're doing. And he's making it look like, nah, I can handle this. I'm not going to look like a fish out of water. Certain man, it looks like that when they first come. So for me, I'm looking at those two this season and comparing how they performed Tomiyasu, because you lot got him for a lot cheaper. We decided to go 12 million more for Emerson. I need to see 12 million more's worth of performance. That's all I'm saying.
It makes sense. And it's an interesting one you say that, because in my preview, when I was doing it alone, I thought to myself, if I'm Spurs, I'm getting at that defense, because obviously I hear what you're saying. Big praise for the two fullbacks, but it's a new look back 5 unit. Get at them and ask questions. I think the same with you. Like, obviously, Loris is operating with what Romero's there. There's probably, I don't know who else is going to play. Yeah, and you've got the 2 new fullbacks. So on top of everything, I want them to take opportunities in that. What do you make of this question about Kane mentally? Because I don't know where I'm looking at, because if he plays well tomorrow, what are people going to say? But I can't lie, against Chelsea, it weren't that he weren't on it. There weren't that extra spring. He just going through the motions like, I'm just doing my moral obligations here.
I think it's twofold thing. I think it's almost like that. I would say the lazy analysis to say, oh, he's checked out. I think when you go for a big summer saga where you actually want a transfer, Kane acts out of character by not turning up to training. It's clearly going to play on his mind coming into the season. Then you take into account he's coming off the back of the Euros, wasn't really involved in preseason, came literally on the last week of preseason. So he's essentially finding his fitness throughout the season as well. But throughout the years, well, if you look at it, Kane has always been a slow start to the season as well.
Big things made of him in August, isn't it?
It's always been this big thing. But then every year he's almost up there with the top 3 and top goal scorers. So I've always said, look, let him clear his head out. Let him get his fitness up over the next month or so. For me, it's about those around him now step up. Let him get that. And for me, I've seen flashes, for example, the Wolves game. I thought much better midweek as well, where I was like, all right, now we're starting to get a little bit. And that was the same Wolves team we played a couple of weeks back, where we were looking without him pretty much toothless, bro. Like, we only won that because Dele Alli dived for a penalty, let's be real. So for me, it's one of those.
At least you keep it honest,
bro, I keep it real. But with Kane, we're always going to be more dangerous. And for people to say like, oh, he's checked out, I can understand that. There's definitely a degree to that, but I don't think it's fully that. I think it's his fitness as well. I think Nuno, I don't know whether he's going to want him dropping as deep as he has been for the last year and a half.
What do you make of that as well? Because obviously against Spurs, against Chelsea, it looked like Son's playing slightly higher, Kane is dropping, and they didn't really, normally, it's like they kind of take turns doing that. It looked like Kane was more happy to be this, I call it 9.5, this bit of 10 and bit of striker.
Quarterback.
Yeah, Lidge, quarterback. What is that under Nuno? Is it any different from previous years? Because it looks like your team runs a bit trying to run through Son now.
Yeah, because basically I think that's how it worked last year. Was them two were almost working like a 1-2 punch, where Kane drops deep, sucks the centre backs in, Son floats in behind, and he's there spraying the passes.
You did it when we went to you lot. Sorry to cut you. When we went to you lot did that. When Partey got
prime example, yeah. And I think last year, in the first like 10 games, they racked up like some ridiculous numbers of them two combining for those types of goals. So I think with them having found that kind of groove, they're always going to try and replicate it. But for me, it's about picking your moments. It's about picking the games where you need to stay up and be a focal point for the team, because we're going to play up high and press high today. Because if he's dropping so deep, naturally the team is going to drop deep as well. Son is going to make those runs, but Son is just coming back off an injury as well. He ain't going to be as fit, and that showed in the Chelsea game. He wasn't making those same quick twitch muscle runs that. Yeah, so it's like he's coming back off international break injury. So I'm thinking, Kane, this is the kind of game where you've got to kind of stay up top, because Chelsea are playing with 3 centre backs as well. Just occupy spaces, make it a problem for them, physically impose yourself, because I think that's one area of the game where Kane has kind of drifted away from a little bit within this kind of quarterback role he's taken now. Back in the day, he used to press up on strikers. It used to be a physical competition. He doesn't do that and get involved in that as much anymore. And I'm like, yo, I miss that a little bit. Yeah, so sometimes I'm like, yo, these kind of derby games, though, I know he lives for this. But my thing is that the Emirates, he hasn't always performed at the Emirates. And I think even Tobe said the other day, his last goal from open play, I think, was 2015. It's all been penalties pretty much. So it was quite surprising. And I was like, yo, do you know what? This is kind of the perfect game where I feel like kickstart yourself. Announce that, yo, I've said I'm staying. I'm here for the season. Let me show you, man, what I'm
Make
about.
yourself a
Okay,
hero.
and
Make yourself a hero. Like, I'm sure there's not too many Spurs fans. I think there's many Spurs fans who can understand. You know what? This is the belly of the beast. If City come asking, you got to kind of do it. And I'm sure there's some fans that think of him a bit negatively. But this is the perfect game to make yourself a hero. That's actually what I'm
facts.
scared about with Arsenal, because it's like an informed Harry Kane is still Harry Kane. When we went against Lukaku, who you should know as a defender what he's about, we was very naive. And if Kane does score, if he sums up a bit like with Aubameyang, for you lot, he sums up the fans in the London derby. If we concede that first goal, I want to see a reaction. And I think if Kane scores, I do think these players crumble. What do you make of this thing here? He says, Fuad and DG, what are you saying about Dele Alli? Because I'm saying he's done out here, Everton level player. He has the ability, but the mindset doesn't seem to be there. Off the backdrop of him
Yo,
under Nuno, it looks like getting a new lease of life. What do you make of that? Because I can't really answer that.
do you know? Do you know what's so funny, dude? The last time we was on stream, I think about a year ago, bro, we was having this same conversation about Dele Alli, bro. Nothing has changed, bro. Literally,
Mad,
that
isn't
should
it?
tell you everything. Nothing has changed, and I feel like every year we're almost like trying to find new excuses of, oh, does the manager believe in him? Oh, has he dropped down a level? Oh, is he fit this year? I think this year, one thing that's for sure is Nuno believes in him. Nuno's put his eggs
Played
in
bare
his
football,
basket
man.
and said, yeah, he said, all right, you know what? Since we're not going to get the old Dele Alli and we're not going to get goals from you, you're not going to float in behind spaces, and we don't really play that system anymore. I'm going to turn you into a box-to-box midfielder runner. And
That's what it
I'll
looks
say
like.
this. He's made himself useful. Won us the game at Wolves, got himself a little assist midweek, and I think he's given Nuno enough flashes to be like, you know what, I'm going to keep persistent with you. For me, the issue becomes where you've got Højbjerg there, you've got Ndombele, who for me is the most creative and technical
That's
midfielder
it.
in that team.
Save your Ndombele ones. I've got him. That's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
I want
yeah.
to ask you for as well, like specifically.
So it's
Go
like,
on, though.
there's a few pieces in that midfield. You've got Skip coming through as well. It's like, can Dele Alli for me offer himself enough this year to solidify himself and get himself a role in that team? For me, I don't know. I feel like we've tried and tested Dele Alli in every system to try and revive him in every manner. We've had Jose try and give him a jump start. Poch was the original guy. We've had Mason try to put his arm around him. It doesn't work. For me, I just feel like this is a year where Nuno should try and maybe get his stock up. And then January, summer, decent bid comes in. I'm taking 25 mil. I'm taking 30 mil. Everton, and I agree with that comment. Everton, West Ham level, I truly think he goes to a club like that, he's thriving. A club like Spurs, who I think are outsiders with ambitions to kind of push into the top four and try and challenge for
Can't really help
silverware,
you.
I don't think so now. And that's shown where I feel like his biggest issue was he got too comfortable at Spurs, where he
A
got
lot
so
given
much
very
success
quickly, innit?
early on. Yeah, it kind of, I felt like, got to his head a little bit, where he was like, I'm the man at a top club in London. We're competing for silverware. And at the time, things were rosy under Pochettino. But then comes
One
the
of the
rough
main guys.
patches, which is
It used
where,
to be him and Kane, I swear. Like them two. If
yeah,
Kane
and
never done
bro,
the damage,
like,
it was him winning it.
it was him. And the thing is, I always say, like, the top players, the thing that separates them is mentality, bro. When you go through that rough
Facts.
phase, when you get that big injury, when you have a manager not picking you, how do you react? How do you change your
How
game?
you come out
How
the
do you
other
say,
side. Facts.
yeah, bro, how do you push yourself to the absolute limit? And I haven't seen that from Dele Alli. This season is the first time where I'm seeing flashes of that, where I'm like, yo, he's actually busting a gut out there and willing to die. But then I'm seeing like him marking on set pieces where he's letting Thiago Silva get a 10-yard run up and
No, that
dunk
was
on him. And I'm like,
pathetic, man.
yo, come on, man. And it just kind of undoes everything that you're kind of just hoping for. But I don't know, man. We'll see how this Nuno project works out. But in my opinion, get his stock up for as much as you can and then offload him as soon as you can, because I don't think long-term he's someone you can build around.
It's that as well. It's everything you said. I can't disagree. It's just as an outsider, I think what hasn't helped Delhi is that I've never known what your position is. Like I've seen you play actually deeper for Spurs. I've seen you do this off the striker / off the left. I've seen you do box to box. You can do a little bit of everything, and it's not just him. I think that is a lot of footballers nowadays. Whether they're 1 minute they're wingers and then strikers, I just don't think there was anything there. You mentioned Ndombele. Where are you at with him? Because I think in midweek he showed the good, bad, and the ugly. Lovely baller,
Oh,
fantastic. But he's taking a piss for that defensive stuff, man. I mean,
bro,
I don't know what Dembele is on sometimes.
that is verbatim. Yesterday I was streaming with Tobes, and that is verbatim what I said. That game for me showed literally the good, the bad, and the ugly. You see the creativity for the goal, for example. You see the press, you see the tackle, you see the beautiful chop and a nice clean finish. You're like, brother, this guy, I want this brother in my team. Then you see him marking for a corner, and he's trying to do a scorpion.
Yeah, this
while man are trying. I'm like, listen.
What's
What's
going
going on
on,
here?
bro?
Please, this is just basics of like, this is primary school defending. Just mark your man, touch tight. And then for the second goal, I'm sorry, people will say that's a foul, but common sense says, yo, play that back, play it simple, keep it safe, especially when you can see it's a 3-on-3 at the back there. Now you've got Romero stretching, looking silly, and it's like something's just become indefensible. And I'm like the biggest, not Ndom stan, but I've always said, yo, we haven't surrounded him with the best players. We haven't put him in the best system to thrive. And I feel like for your record signing 65 million, you should at least be trying to do that. And I don't think we've done that at all in the time. And every manager who's come in has almost made it a shtick to kind of be like, hey, you need to prove yourself and work hard to get in the team. And I've said
that's
there
what I
has
wanted
to be
to
some
ask you as well, because it's like surely it's starting with him then. If Bearman,
I was going to say that as well. There has to be some form of accountability, definitely, whether it's his attitude or his demeanor, where he pushes himself to the max. Because I think as well, he's only scratched the surface of what he can become. But for me, it's
I agree.
If he's one of these players who I believe runs on confidence and runs on when he's playing consistently. If you're putting him in and out of the side, he loses confidence, he loses fitness, and you're not getting the best end on. Nobody wins in that situation. But when I look at the options we have in our midfield, and I'm like, he's the most talented, most creative, most technically secure player, and especially when we're dying and starving for creativity from midfield, we have to play him, bro. Which plays even more to why. Now his confidence will be up. Now his fitness will be up. Now we might actually get the best version of him. Midweek now, that was his third start this season in a row. And I said, I hope Nuno is starting him and almost punishing him to say, get your fitness up. Because I'm going to start you every game and you're almost going to be punished.
Needs
and
to get past playing just an hour,
Yeah, there's 60 minutes where he fades out and he's like, oh, I need my shisha pipe. Nah, brother. We need to get into the 90 minutes. We need you fully. Because but for real, bro, 65 million, you want to start getting your money's worth at some point. And I feel like this being the third season, I want to see a lot from him, but I also want to see Nuno give him the opportunity. That's it.
Do you know what it is? Looking at Ndombele as an Arsenal fan, they're two different people, but I see a bit of the Pepe scenario in that they have to take accountability. I don't think their managers have necessarily rubbed them up the right way. I think, like you said, you've got to build a system. You've got to get the best out of them. Like for a while, like we were saying, Pepe needs a right back. He's a counter-attacking man. We're too patient and whatnot. But at the same time, it's almost like I question the mentality of the player. Now, I am seeing Pepe's never going to be worth 70 million, but I mean, he's improving a bit defensively. I think Ndombele, he just looks like he knows he's talented, but it's one of them, and it's like what you're touching on. It's like, do you want to go from being talented to being on it every game? And it's like, it's almost uncomfortable. And I guess until we have a conversation with these guys, you'll never know. He just seems, I'm a baller, the London aspect. I'm playing for Spurs. We're doing this Europe stuff. It's kind of cool at this moment in time, but he's not pushing himself because I see parallels with the Pogba thing.
Bro, do you know what he reminds me of? Every man in ends here, there's always like that one brother that's a talented baller, but he just ain't got that professionalism about him to make it pro. And you're like, fam, Ndom reminds me of that guy in the ends. That guy who you just think, yo, you're so supremely talented that if you just piece it all together, you can actually become one of the best in the game. Because I truly think when he's fit, when he's pressing, his vision, his passing, the creativity, the close control and footwork he has, I don't think we've seen a player like that at Spurs. I'll be honest with you.
Baller,
the entire time I've supported Spurs, bro, we haven't had a player like that. So that's why I think there's a lot of clamor for Spurs fans to start him. But my thing is you have to demand that from yourself as well. You have to look at yourself and say, all right, cool. They have to put me in the best position to succeed because I'm their record signing. But guess what? I'm the record signing as well. And I need to show why I'm worth that money as well when given the opportunities. And for me, I think Wednesday was a prime example, as you said, of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we need to start getting that ugly out, man, because it's small, basic things that he can improve on. Giving the ball 5 yards and marking your man on a corner. Come on. That's
you don't need analysis for that. That's basic.
Come on. Literally,
right,
bro. That's the 1-2.
That's basics. So what are you saying for your midfield going against Arsenal? Because for me, where I'm at as an Arsenal fan, if Arteta pisses around in midfield, then my confidence is gone even more. I think if you get the midfield spot on, we're aggressive, we have half a chance going off what Chelsea did in the second half. Now, I personally think he's going to bring back Xhaka, which I hope isn't the case. But from a Spurs perspective, what are you hoping for in midfield? Because for me, you should start Ndombele. But if I was to put my gaffer hat on, away from his talent, I do get that word. And I don't want to call him a liability, but he does things that could be described as a liability, and I don't think you can afford to do that.
Luxury type player.
For me, it'd start. Yeah, like you said, man, he could skill up the whole team, but then you might just lose the ball when they counter attack and the game's done. But I think you need him. Who do you play in your midfield?
we need him because we're starving, but I definitely think we could get more out of him if you had like a natural creator like an Ericsson next to him or something like that, or even like an Odegaard like you lot have. But I think with you lot being at home, if Arteta does go with like the Xhaka party or Lokonga party, I think he's shooting himself in the foot massively. This is the kind of game where I feel like Arsenal should go Partey, Odegaard, Emil Smith Rowe with as 2 8s, and just for me personally, to counter that, what I would think Arsenal would play, I would play Højbjerg, Skip, and Ndombele. And for me, I would kind of have Højbjerg as like a box-to-box man, Skip the deepest, and then Ndombele, just give him the free license and less defensive duties. So he's less of a liability, if you like. You're just more kind of like the icing on the cake, create for the forwards type of thing. That's how I would combat it. My worry is Ndombele's now started literally the last 3 games: the Wolves, the Chelsea game, and the game before that. Will he start a 4th game, knowing that he fades out in the 60th minute in a big North London derby where you know you're going to need them pressing and running hard? Or are you going to go for your trusted guy, Dele Alli, who you've been converting into a box-to-box and been improving in that role, if you like? So I think he might go for Dele Alli in that role instead of Ndombele Nuno, but I low-key hope he goes with the Ndombele.
I think it's a game where both teams should be risky, and this is where I kind of think both teams, I think both teams should believe both teams have only scored, I think, 1 from open play. So to probably assume goals, it would show it probably is the sort of game where there's goals, but it's probably wishful thinking, expecting mad goals. But I just feel both teams should be brave. Like I said at the start, Spurs should want to test that defense. Arsenal should want to get at your whole team as well as your defense, and the same logic for Spurs. Would you make of Romero? Because I see this question up there, and I thought, because I think he's been out of all the other signings, he's looked all right. He looked shaky in his debut, but he come good after that. So where you at as a Spurs fan?
I was gonna say that, the debut kind of made me go, "Whoa, hey, what are we on to here?" But honestly, from what I saw of him at Atlanta last year, the Copa America during the summer, I was excited when he was coming in. I was thinking this is kind of like the bedrock piece you can build your defense around. And since then, I've seen him in a couple of Conference League games, the midweek game, and against Chelsea as well. I thought he faded in the second half against Chelsea, which I think was for everyone in that team, because we had a lot of players coming back on fitness. Knackered, especially with the way Chelsea play as well. It's exhausting. But I've been impressed with him early on. I think composed, he's looked commanding. And for me, the worry is who do we partner him up with? That's the only thing I become worried with. I'm not worried about Romero's development or whether he'll be a top centre back in the sliders. I thought before coming in he would become that, because his style of play as well, I think, is very suited to the Premier League.
He likes to defend.
Very much a front foot defender, and a proper defenders first. Like, he loves the art of defending. A man who loves an area
that have
challenge,
learned the craft in Italy. They have to, man.
Fam, Serie A Defender of the Year last year. So for me, it's I'm expecting big things from him this year, and it's just a matter of adaptation period. I just hope now we're not baby coddling him almost and saying, "Oh, let him get match fit." Nah, he's played enough games now. Start him every week in, week out. This is the big 50 million euro signing. Come on, man. We can't be forcing this Davinson Sanchez and Dyer situation just because they had 3 clean sheets at the start. Them man have shown they can have purple patches and be a liability, and I'm not willing to risk that in a big game like this. Start me my Romero and show me why he's worth the 50 million euros.
I mean, 50 million centre backs. Looking at Arsenal, that's how it's completely different. And I think Romero's better than him, but that's how I feel about Ben White. It's like, obviously, I don't want to be that guy where every mistake or everything he does well, I'm harping on about it. But I don't think suspect's the right word. But you look a bit dodgy to me, and that's why when I'm saying you should get out of defense, I'm not saying his name, but that's who I'm looking at, because he's mad naive, in it. Like, Brentford showed how naive he is. There was naive elements against Burnley. Norwich, he was near enough spot on like everybody. So if I'm Kane or Son, and I know there's a defender that don't know the tricks and trades of the game and is still having teething problems with his new partner, I'd get him. And it's like, even Gabriel. I think Gabriel's a good defender, but he's still young, and there's change I've seen in Gabriel now, or what I think is about to happen. You're not the guy that David Luiz holds your hand for you. You're going to need to hold Ben White's hand. It's become evidently clear. Yeah, like, you've got to be the big dog, the big homie. And that's an area I look at, and it scares me. And it's like, with Ben White, I don't know if you're going to justify that price tag. I hope you do, but it's like, for 50 mil, I just wanted to see a bit more basics, really. Like, a bit more of the basics covered. He looks mad naive. I like how he is on the ball, but he's almost... Arsenal never quite get the balance. We get man that can't play or man that want to play too much, and I think he's wants to play too much.
You hit the nail on the head there. I think, like, for me, with what I said about Romero, where he loves to defend first, I worry about that with Ben White if I was an Arsenal fan, because I look at him and I'm like, I can tell this guy's catting to be a midfielder almost.
Yeah, like he
more
wants to. He looks
interested.
the part,
He's
all
more
pretty
interested
and that.
in his. He's more interested in his pass completion and how many touches he can get. And I'm thinking, brother, how many aerial duels are you winning? Are you doing the basics and the foundations of, as a defender, what you should be doing? And even like when you're saying Gabriel should be taking that leadership, bro. I remember when Gabriel came into Arsenal, I thought that I think that's a nice coup that you lot got for 27 million, but he only broke into the Lille team like on the back end of
He's a
that
baby
season. So
himself. Yeah,
it was. Yeah, so it was like a big jump up for him as well. And I was like, yo, now that you've got Ben White as well with Gabriel, it's both of them kind of have to step up at the same time. So it'll be interesting to see who becomes like the A centre back, if that makes sense.
It should be
Because I always
Ben
feel
White,
like
but for me, it's Gab, man.
that's what I agree as well. Being a big money signing, Ben White should really take this opportunity, move into a big club like Arsenal to stamp himself at that level. But I don't know. I think what you said there, a lot of naivety is what I see. And I think it becomes from, I hope, overplaying on the ball, maybe being complacent with his touches and things like that, and not sticking to the basics, bro. Because I feel like nowadays with defending, we've almost got too sucked into that where we focus on can a defender play out the back, brother. I've always said I couldn't care if you can play me the perfect diagonal. Can you defend a set piece? Can you defend a corner?
Can you mark
your man? Can you literally, bro? Can you win your challenges? Can you make sure even when you lose the first challenge, get up and race for the second? Don't give me this, man's left me.
Literally.
And I need men that are willing to die on that pitch. What I always say,
that's why I've done with Marie.
DMs, centre backs and DMs, those men have to be caged animals on the pitch.
Literally. You said it there. And that's the thing with Ben White. Like, obviously, people that have started off strong at this club might go the other way. So I'll give him that. But it's like you said it perfectly. It's like if you wanted to play midfield, you would. Now, I know he got into the Euro squad maybe on a technicality, but just of what you said with the Gabriel thing, if anything, I'm looking at you to be the leader. You're Mr. 50 mil. You're coming into this thing technically as an England international coming to this club. Gabriel ain't, apart from the Olympics, which he got injured, he ain't really done too much. So I'm a bit unimpressed with Ben White in that regard. It's like the jury's still out. It's like it's been 5 out of 10 for me, and I don't really think that's good enough. Like his first game, I think it was a thing where the system's looking a mess, the partners are a mess. I could give you that excuse. But now you've got the Ramsdale, you've got Tomiyasu Tini's there, you've got your partnership. It looks like Arteta is solving what he wants to do in the midfield. The excuses are kind of thin, really and truly. On the topic of midfield, again, we be all there. I don't really rate Arteta in that regards, man. It's mad.
Yeah. I think that's both of our clubs. This is where I think Spurs and Arsenal draw a lot of parallels, where we both have managers that kind of stifle, you feel like, some of the players, and then the midfield is such a struggle and a slug to watch.
Struggle, bro.
The first 4 or 5 games, that's the main thing I've been calling out. And I'm like, yo, over the summer, as Spurs fans, we were sold, yo, we're going to look for a manager that plays the Tottenham way and the attacking way, and we're going to play on the front foot. And it's like, all right, but now we can't string 4 passes together against Wolves. We can't dominate possession against Watford. The Crystal Palace game, we're getting absolutely bopped. Like before the 10 men, I'm talking as well. Like, so everybody wants to use the excuse of 10 men why we got killed in that game, bro. Nah, we were all over the place in that game before it. So I don't know, man. I've said I don't want to criticize Nuno too early. Obviously, you're in a different situation with Arteta. You've been seeing this.
He's been here
with
for a
Nuno.
minute.
I'm just like, I've already been saying the squad I don't think is good enough. So it's going to be hard to work with that as it is. And I know Nuno isn't really the most attacking manager that he was at Wolves, but I don't want to judge him off that alone. So I'm going to give him till January. See what his attacking ideas are. See if it's more than just a Bergwijn and Mora counter. I want to see more than that. I want to see, do we have patterns of play? Do we have patterns of movement? Is there an overload area that we can exploit? Do you see our wing backs get? Because that's one thing I feel like as well. The midfield width. And I feel like when you're asking Bergwijn and Mora to make these kind of direct runs behind Kane, you lose that bit of width, especially as I said earlier, when Nuno is not asking the fullbacks to bomb on as much. Reguilon, we're not seeing him bomb on and whip as many crosses as he did last year. And I felt like that was a big, big factor of his game last year, was that deadly left peg. And I was like, yo, we've kind of lost that this year. So
getting behind, he whipped something in, yeah.
So if the midfield is slow and you haven't got that width as well, bro, it's going to be punishing. So I'm going to be watching Nuno for the next couple months, see how we progress in that, man.
You mentioned it, and it kind of ties me into what I was asking. What do you make of Nuno, anyways, as a gaffer? Like, literally from his first game up until now, what have you made of him tactically? What have you made of his in-game management? Is there, beyond the obvious, like Dele Alli, is there any players that have been thrown a new lease of life? Any players that have been rubbed out? Is there any
I think
concerning areas?
I like that he's kept the same energy with Doherty, where he's just seen him for his fraudulence and said, "Nah, you ain't even getting that clean slate start. Forget that."
Forget the Wolves link up.
Yeah. People thought, yeah, he's gonna revive him or something like. He said, "Nah, there's a reason why I sold him." So I'm glad, I'm glad he kept that same energy. Lo
Oh
Celso
man,
and Bergwijn are two that I've seen have been given new leases of life as well. I think Bergwijn's been taking it prior to the injury, despite not getting any kind of GA, which is what I think Spurs fans have been crying for from him. I've seen him actually have an impact in the game, which is what I look for more, in all honesty. But those are really the two new players. I think Tanganga's one who has taken his chance early in the season, and I think has now set him up to be kind of get yourself involved really this season rather than be a squad player, which
be
I
on the
think he's kind of
peripheral, yeah.
suffered from. Yeah, man, especially when he's at that cusp that he is, like that 22, 23 age bracket. You really want to start getting first team game football, especially when I'm seeing like 19, 18-year-olds like Livramento are guaranteed week in, week out Southampton. Brother, get yourself starting regular minutes at
Sign
Spurs as
yourself
well
in
then.
it.
But yeah, man. So for me, it's like I've been impressed with certain factors of Nuno, the defensive shape, how we look a little bit better on the counter, a little bit more structured, I'll say, on the counter rather than chaos going forward and just relying on Harry Kane's kind of through balls. But I'm still looking at a lot of areas for improvement. I'm still not seeing enough significant change to tell me that, yo, we can compete for top four again. Oh, we're serious challengers for any silverware, even the Conference League, bro. Like, as much as we're in it and people are saying we're favorites, bro, I'm still looking at Roma like, if we buck them in the final and it's Jose, yeah.
Karma is, but
you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know
You
the
know
way this is
Jose.
set up. You know the way this is set up. He'll be running on the pitch doing up this, pointing
Yeah.
at me.
He'll be doing this. He'll be a top
Aye.
twat. Like he'll
So
be part of the
I
memes
can
and the
already
rest of
see
it,
that,
fam.
bro. It'll be crazy. So for me, it's like I'm looking at Nuno, but I'm not too harsh on him as I think a lot of the Spurs fans are. I think because he was obviously the 14th choice manager, people are looking at him like a lens of the first fuck up. I'm Nuno out. Like this
I'm
wasn't the
looking for
guy I
that
wanted.
reason.
Yeah, but I look at Nuno and I'm like, well, the job he did at Wolves, bro, was good. Like, you've got to respect it. I always look at him as like Wolves' Pochettino. He
Yeah,
took
he
them from
built something
Championship,
together with he
brought
built
them
something
up
mad at Wolves
back to
still.
back seventh place. You look at their squad now, even when he's left, they've still got decent players there. He produced players as well. That was one thing I look at. We never knew guys like Jota. We never knew guys like what's his name? Neto. Like Adama Traore was useless at
Yeah, he
Liverpool
was
and
a dud.
Aston
He
Villa.
was a dud. He
Yeah,
literally was a dud.
Jimenez sign him from nowhere, but sign him from Benfica. Sorry, turn him into a top striker because he was classed as a flop when he went Atletico Madrid. So it's like you've got to give him credit for some of those attacking player developments as well. So as much as he's defensively sound, he's
That's a
improved
good
players
point. You know,
attackingly.
even
So
Doherty looking like a mad fullback them times as well. Fair
them
play.
times, bro, exactly. Johnny Otto, I think, was like at Celta Vigo, a right back, and he's turned him into like a left wing back. So I'm like, attacking wise, I've seen him develop players. So coming in, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give him the chance to develop. I don't want to judge him out of the gate and be like, he's a defensive manager. Let me see what we've got, because I already know we had shit at our club that we needed to slog for time, but it's how he works with that shit now. And in all honesty, I also want to see how he's backed in January as well.
Speaking of that, what do you make of? Obviously, it's early days, but Wolves kind of went down the Portugal route. As much as Nuno did his thing, they kind of got into bed, quote unquote, with Mendes, and it worked. I always, as Arsenal fans, we're always scared of working with agents. You're always gonna be scared when you're getting Willian and you can't get an agent's top brass. Like, it's never gonna bang. Like,
Yeah.
what do you make of that? Spurs? Is that something you thought you would see a couple Portuguese players kind of filter in? Do you expect to see that, or is that just it's a myth?
I can't lie to you. I was low-key expecting that. And I was low-key praying for that. I can't lie. When Nuno come in, I said, this is the one benefit. I said, I hope he brings Neto. I hope he brings Neves. Those two, I feel like, would solve
That'd
two
have been
positions
shining
straight
still.
away. Bro, literally, the right-wing position where we're going to kind of gamble on Brian Gill's development and hope Mora and Bergwijn kind of battle it out. Brother, go get me Neto. You know you've got a ready-made product there. Obviously, injuries have kind of laid their hands on him, but then you had Neves. We were rumored kind of last day. I think Arsenal and United were linked.
Like, he was whoring into everyone, man. Everyone was linked
Bro,
with that.
do you see what I'm
Blood.
saying? Yeah, but I think obviously I don't know what it was, maybe financially or something. But I feel like he could have been a good solution to a couple of goals from midfield. But I don't know, man. It's something I hope kind of happens, but I'm not kind of banking on, because we got a director of football in Paratici who I think has been using his Italian links and his kind of network really
Evidently
well.
see it,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I don't think he's going to give kind of Nuno and George Mendes free reign, although he is in touch himself with a lot of agents. So we do tend to kind of people who are very close to each other be linked to them. Like I think Golini and Romero, he kind of structured the deal for them to move to Atlanta or something like that. So he was able
So
to
he's
network a
used
way
it
to get
again.
them to Spurs. Yeah. So I think that kind of route is more what I'm expecting, more the Italian route of Paratici than the Portuguese route of Nuno.
That makes sense, man. Obviously, we've touched lightly on this North London derby. Would you like? What's your actual thoughts going into the game as a Spurs fan now?
Honestly, bro, I'm expecting a tight affair, man. I think I look at I know you lot created a little bit more in the Burnley game, and the probably scoreline should have been a little bit more. But I think the 2-1 you lot aren't exactly firing on all cylinders. I think Obbers, despite the hat trick in West Brom, not firing. I look at us, we're not really firing. We're both kind of struggling to create and sluggish from midfield. So as much as the normal North London derby affair is a 2-2, a 4-2, or something, I can see a 1-1 this time. I could see something kind of maybe us taking the lead early, thinking, yeah, you know what, we can do something, and then Arsenal just coming with the sucker punch, humble, bam, Aubameyang or something like that early in the second half. That's how I see it, in all honesty. I think it'll be, as usual, a feisty affair, but it'll be a tight one in the end because still early in the season. I don't think either team are firing on all cylinders, and we're still struggling. I think that might open the game up, maybe, with what
Yeah, I
you
was
said
about to
as
say
well.
that. Yeah, you
Both
took the
defenses
words out of my
that
mouth.
you needed to be got at, I think if they show some errors and some mistakes happen there, that can open the game up. And similar like we saw today, I think this City-Chelsea game that was 1-0, it looked a 1-0, but it shouldn't have ended like that because once that goal went in early first half, it opened the game up and City could
Open
have
the
got
hell
another
up,
3
yeah.
or 4. So goals open games up. And if one of those defensives can kind of leak something, hey, we're in for something, I hope.
You said it there. Like for me, I think the same. I think on one hand, both teams are kind of leaking goals. They can't score goals, and it's a funny old game. There probably will be a whole heap of goals, but I think we'll see kind of to a lesser quality extent. But what we see with Chelsea City in that we tactically outdo each other. Everybody's lacking confidence. We're probably overthinking the opposition and over respecting, and it will be a boxing match where we're trading little bangs. No one's really going for it. I think second half the game might open up, or you know what? Funny enough, I think there's going to be an early goal. Like, I think first 10, someone's going to do something shaky, kind of. And you kind of said it as well, making me believe it more. It's like if anyone switches off for a second, it's long. And it's like, I look at my players, they're volatile, innit? If the fans get behind them, they might start playing out of their skin, but it's one of them. It won't be like Spurs are away from home if there's no confidence. You've seen the Emirates; it's very silent, innit? That's why I think Arteta is banging on about we need the fans, we need the 12th man. I think if you do that and we be aggressive in midfield, etc., we have half a chance. But like with you lot, your fans are gonna be outnumbered, make more noise than us, but outnumber us. If they get behind these players that are lacking confidence, both sets of teams, you start playing out your skin, you start trying things, you start being a bit confident, and then you know how the thing goes, and you probably go on to win a couple games in a row.
100%. That is for me, I think the main thing I'm looking forward to. This will be the first North London derby with a full crowd back again as well. And I think that could
Arteta's first with
really make
fans, to be fair.
yeah. And I really think that could make a big difference because honestly, I think the noise for North London derbies, the noises you lot are pretty good. Even though people will say sometimes you lot go quiet, I think for the derbies they never rest, man. I think that could be
You got to be able
something.
to do it twice a season, to be
The
fair.
team, yeah. Hey, but the team has to be able to tap into that, I feel like. And the fans have to feed that into the players as well. These kind of occasions, I'm not gonna lie to you, where you're saying like the defenses might start nervy early. Yo, if the fans are there live and active, bro, that can give you that little confidence booster. You win that first header, boom, place goes crazy. You win that first challenge. I think that will be definitely the firsts. A lot of the firsts have to be won. And I think in the opening game against City, I remember that was how I felt like set ourselves up for the game. If you saw Tanganga, first minute, got into Sterling.
Even the first half against Chelsea, they couldn't get out their half. You lot were doing a bit of that.
Bro. And it's like, if you first tackles, first challenges, first duels, you win those, take care of those, that sets the tempo and sets the confidence up for the next kind of 10, 15 minutes. And it'll be interesting, man. But I think you're right there. Definitely early on, something will happen and that will kind of kick the game off. I think North London derbies, they always are, man.
Always are. And for me, off the bench, what scares me is like, what are Arsenal going to have? Like, for me, there's certain things I don't want to see in it. I don't really want to see Aubameyang and Lacazette together. I think it unbalances the side. I don't necessarily mind Smith Rowe off the left, but I don't want him there because Emerson Royal, you know, for me, Brazilian fullback, I know he ain't really shown it, but you should be good going forward. At least anyone that's played ball, at least if you're playing against someone that can beat you for pace or is a skillers, you think twice about going forward. And suddenly, when we don't have that, I don't want to, like you said, I don't want to encourage you. I know you said your fullbacks don't go forward, but I don't want to encourage it. I want them to be pinned
Yeah.
back. That's kind of why I want Saka on the right as well. Midfield, I keep saying it. For me, I think he's honestly going to play Xhaka. He's a bit of an open book. I think if he goes with a Partey and Lokonga, we can match you lot with what you do with Højbjerg and Dele and the rest of it. I just, obviously, both midfielders and midfield's nothing to scream and shout about. So if it's a fight, might as well just make it one. If we try the pretty boy thing, I don't think it bangs. But to be fair, if he's going to do that, I think he has to go what you said at the start, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, and a Partey or Lokonga. I don't think he should go with Xhaka. I can see it. You know, he might start Xhaka if we win. You know, glory headlines, what a great mentality and vice captain he is and things like that. But I just think he's an open book. I feel, you know, I'm actually looking at, funny enough, a big game from Ramsdale because he might not be anything world class, but I need leaders. And like you kind of saying, it's a game for the passion merchant and the Brexit mentality and all of those sort of things. It's one of them. Managers have to move mad. And I think he's one of them, bro. But I just, for me, it's how we react. It's what scares me is if we got to go down, I don't see guys going, okay, cool, we hold our L, let's go again. And it's for me, it's after half time, whether we're winning or losing, it's after half time. And also, I don't really rate Arteta's in-game management too tough because I've seen us play like Slavia Prague, Benfica, with respect to them. In-game, they're doing things that are troubling him. There's not too many times that, do you know what? I think against Leicester and West Ham last season, he changed things in the second half. But 9 times out of 10, he struggles, man. He really struggles. And he like, you lot might be looking like you're going to score. And we might look like, oh, let's bring on Lokonga. Let's get some more defensive stuff in there. He'll only do it when we concede and go, oh, okay, we conceded. We don't want to concede again. Like, fix the roof while the sun's shining sort of thing. And that's where I think Nuno beats him because Nuno's obviously been a manager longer. There's certain things you know. And I don't know, I might be wassing it, but I just think you lot got more off the bench, man. I don't really rate what we've got off the bench. I know there's Martinelli and that, but in real time, what is there? Lacquer by default. It's kind of dead still. Bro, at least you got unpredictable dons like Gil and that.
Yeah, but Gil was literally it. After Gil, there's nothing. It's Dane Scarlett. Like, we are starving.
Yeah, I forgot that them man are injured as well in Bergwijn and Moura potentially.
Bergwijn and Moura, yeah. So Moura could be potentially on the bench. But for us, I think that was the biggest issue against Chelsea. Like, we were losing the game 3-0, and I think our third sub was a centre-back for a centre-back. So it's like that. The depth on the bench is that bad, bro. Like, man was just like, yo, you know what? My centre backs are tired. Let me just make a change for the sake of it. But no, but I hear you as well. One thing I wanted to ask you though, you mentioned Martinelli there. What's happened with him? Like, I felt like there was one point where he was bubbling and kind of destined to take the number 9 or left wing role, whether it be Oba or Laka who sacrificed, and then he got the injury, and I just thought, yo, I don't know whether it's Arteta doesn't like him or rate him, but it just seems like his development has stalled a little bit. And I don't know, like, with Balogun coming through, with Nketiah still there, if I'm not mistaken. So it's like, where does he fit into all of this? You've still got Pepe, Smith Rowe's come through, Saka's now playing full-time on the wings. I'm like, I don't know, man.
Bro, when you find out, tell me. I don't know, because I think it's honestly what you said. It's a bit of everything. I think our fans gas him up. I think Martinelli's amazing. He's got quality, all these things. But I just feel it's one of them where they gas it. Like, he don't need to start all the time. He don't need to play all the time. He ain't really earned his chops like that. And there's many elements in his game. His first touch, like the thing we praise him about, is pressing. Sometimes I think that excludes to youthful exuberance, and you concede fouls where you don't need to. I think he needs to refine his technique and retain the ball a bit better. That being said, I know there's been an injury, and I feel Arteta with that, because I do think there's something with Martinelli a bit like Smith Rowe, where 90 minutes, they're always getting cramp and there's these things. But I then think that's not an excuse to not play, man. I don't know what it is with Arteta. I think when your back's against the wall, you do things out of comfort. I don't think he really wants to play Martinelli, which, like you said, is harsh, because way before, I won't say before Saka, but when Saka and Smith Rowe weren't really doing it, he was kind of the young guy setting the tempo, pressing, etc., which I want to see that. I think he does lose out a bit tactically because although Arteta says he can play everywhere, I don't think he fancies him right now through the middle. I think Arteta's kind of said Tierney and him don't necessarily work, so that kind of rules out him off the left. I think he should be playing on the right a bit more. He played there against AFC Wimbledon and done well, but he didn't have the best of games last time he was there. And it's something Arsenal fans don't really feel him. Obviously, you've got Pepe and Saka. So I don't really understand, but I definitely think, bro, there should, even if he should be that man off the bench. Like, all right, you're not starting, but you're the guy. Like you kind of said with Mora and that, like, yeah, you're the guy. I don't get it. And at this point now, if you're not going to play, like you said, I know we probably need to sell Eddie Nketiah in Jan because his contract's running out. Balogun don't look like he's playing too much. But I also feel you might as well load out Martinelli. Now, we've got AFCON, Pepe might go, and then you make yourself a hero. But I don't get it. Like, I really don't. Like, he's not playing enough for me. And I don't know,
and the thing is, with you lot not being a European footballer as well, I can't even see like that run of games that he would get outside of the league and stuff. So I just think if he maybe gets like one or two chances, like you said, if Pepe goes AFCON and he really captures it like he did initially when he broke through, I don't know. I just worry for him this season, his development, whether it's going to be
same. He's wasting time, fam.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough, but it's part and parcel of the game as well. But one thing I will give him is he did make the jump from a real low level in Brazil to Arsenal, and that was crazy. And I thought the way he adapted to that, and literally, I think what you said, people gassed him up and held him to a standard that, oh, he's going to be the next wonder kid, and it's like, nah, let him go through his progressions. Yeah, man, let him go through his progressions. I think right now, if he's just even a squad player, as you said, an impact coming off the bench, and he feels like he's being used as a squad member, I think that's all he needs this season. It may be not to be starting regularly, but just to feel that involvement for me.
And it's like with Arteta now, it's like Martinelli always talks about how Arteta's working with him and that. But then I get it. It's like what I don't get as well is like you've got this Balogun thing. Like you kind of said, there's no football being played. I think with Martinelli, you said a point also about Ndombele. Some man, I think you need to play a run of games and get in the groove of things. I think when Martinelli first come, you could take him out, you could play 3 games, you could do whatever with him. I think because of what's happened with him now, I think you need to bet on him. And this is where it's going, where I don't think he's going to currently play him ahead of Saka off that left or even Pepe. And you've even got the Aubameyang and Laka debate. If Aubameyang comes back in off the left-hand side, I think he's got that over him. You made an interesting point, and that's what pees me off as well. It's that we knew game time was limited. Don't get twisted. I want all these kids to play, but there's an element of you cannot do that because there's no football, and we kind of need to see if we can get Europe and things. So I don't really understand the logic in Nketiah staying. We did accept a bid. Balogun not going out on loan because sometimes you're not even in the match day squad. And like you said with Martinelli, it don't really make sense. And like you kind of said there, for me, it'll be a season wasted. Like I wouldn't draw too many conclusions, but you never quite get it. Like you don't want to loan him out, so clearly you think he can be used. You don't quite want to start him, so you don't quite think he's level. So it's like, what is going on? There's only so much training you can do, and it's like. Yeah. Well, you see the young players around our squad. Why is Martinelli like not in that mix? He's still about. You gave him. Well, I think Arteta was here when he signed the new deal. We tied him down. So it's like, what's going on?
My thing is as well is I don't know about you, but and I probably shouldn't care being this side of the waters, but I've always looked at Arsenal for the last couple of years and thought, yo, why haven't they switched to a front 2? I'm like, I feel like you lot have always had the pieces to play a front 2. And I'm like, especially when Oba and Laka were initially starting there, I was like, yo, I know Oba moved to the left and that kind of worked. He got his golden boot from there. And it was like, all right, cool. That's his position. But I've always felt like, all right, eventually he'll get moved into a number 9. They've got 2 strikers. Now with Balogun coming through Martinelli, I can see that maybe working as a 1-2 punch. If Oba and Laka aren't starting, one of them can step up. And even like in a 3-5-2, like Chelsea were playing today with the Lukaku and Werner, it's a system that can be adapted to have the front 2. Is that something you'd want to see, or do you think that's going to come at the expense of like the width Saka would bring or a Smith Rowe? Because I think that's one of the small advantages of Saka being able to play in the wing back position is you can tweak him a little bit back. Yeah, you can still fit him in, but then have the 2 front strikers and make a use of some of these players that you're saying are kind of wasting away on the bench.
I mean, for me, by nature, I'm a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3 man, but I do want us to be able to play 3 at the back. I think a couple of reasons why it won't work. Obviously, if Saliba comes back next year, we've got some new centre halves in Gabriel and obviously Ben White. I think our centre halves are not comfortable enough on the ball. I don't think, and for me, it goes down to our midfield because a lot of us Arsenal fans for years we were saying, why don't we try 4-4-2? And I always used to say 9 times out of 10, you're playing a 3-man midfield every day of the week. So if you're going to go with a midfield pivot, they need to be spot on. Now, even down to this day, we've been saying that since them man, the first year they signed. Now, obviously, our first choice pivot, I don't agree with it, but it's probably Xhaka and Partey. Now, you'd probably agree. You make an Arsenal 4-4-2. No one's confident with that in midfield. It's very hit and miss. That's probably where it comes down to. Me personally, though, I hear you. If we got a new centre half, I'd be open to it. But it's like I'm kind of done with that purely because I don't feel we should be centering our game around those two. I think we should have. I know we're not Man City, but you could see Man City have an operational system. You could see Aguero's left. You probably need to sign a striker, but it's not really important like that. And I just feel the age he's at, I don't think we should have a system that it still is reliant on Aubameyang or reliant on Laka. Like I feel the conversation's redundant now. It's like you, man, if you get back in form, do whatever, we'll revisit it. But you, man, are not the future. Like Lacazette's here for a year. You know, Aubameyang's contracted for, I believe, another 2. But his form, you know, even if you don't leave, you shouldn't really be a main player like that. So it's like, I think it's just a time thing for me. Like it's tired now, man.
No, I hear it. I hear it fully. And that's the other thing as well. I think obviously, yeah, the time has passed now, but then with Martinelli, I thought maybe that could be something. But yeah, you could probably go back to a 1 with that, in all honesty. You don't
I'm
need
on it
2,
though.
but,
If you could do like an older Bamian or a Lacazette and a Martinelli, I'm on exploring it because for me, I think we don't have enough systems. You know, Spurs, I mean, City at times you could switch it to a 3 at the back. There was a time where under Pochettino, I think, you know, not to praise the enemies, but the season where I really rated what you lot was doing, I think the last year at White Hart Lane, I think you lot were undefeated. There was a couple of times you were switching to 3 at the back, 4 at the back. It was just spot on. I think the Belgian man were there them times. I look at things like that and I look at when Arsenal have done things like we're a weird team, like we'll play 4, then we'll switch to a 3, then the next week we might go back to a 4. But in reality, we got 4 defenders, but we're behaving like it's a 3. So it's like, where's the IQ? So it's like, I don't rate you with the IQ. I just want stability. That's why I'm kind of on just playing Ramsdale, regardless of what happens with Ben White and Gabriel on the weekend. Just play them again. Let just give these guys 5 or so games. Let's just see what it's on because I don't know about you lot, but we had 38 games. We had 37 different lineups, bro. That's not healthy, fam.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Mad.
You need some kind of standardization and I always say, especially in that core at the back where the goalkeepers, the center backs, those aren't positions you want to be rotating and fiddling around too much. You want to keep us on a centered basis. But with the 3 at the back formation, I just think almost every team now will almost have to add it to their arsenal. I feel like no pun intended, but yeah, I feel like it's just with teams like City, Chelsea, they're all kind of seemingly adopting it. And once the top teams adopt it, I always feel like it trickles down almost. And international stage, we're seeing it. I just think football's more kind of leaning towards that way. It's like when everybody switched from 4-4-2 to 4-2-3-1 and then switched to the 4-3-3. Yeah, it's a cycle thing. I just feel like 3 at the back is kind of the new thing. And I just think a lot of teams now, one thing we're going to start seeing is the reintroduction of front 2s. But for me, it's just finding the right balances. I think Inter and Lautaro with Lukaku last season gave the perfect example of that, where you're like, yo, it can actually work. Even Suarez last season at some points, but even though he wasn't playing with a natural partner, but you just think, yo, there's moments where the 3 at the back and the 2 up front, it can work. But as you said, you've got to have the right pieces, man. You've got to have the right pieces.
And that's it. And I mean, like what you said with 3 at the back, I just want us to be able to master it because under Arteta, some of our biggest wins have been with a back 3. You know, even back to Wenger, we beat Chelsea with Monreal, Mertesacker, and Holding back 3 against Costa. So it can be done, but it's like I don't have the confidence in that. Okay. Just say, for instance, the only way to beat Spurs is 3 at the back. We've played 4 at the back in our last couple of games. I wouldn't have the confidence to say, okay, Sunday we're switching it up. And I know there's going to be a base level. I know there's going to be issues. It's like even when we went to Chelsea, it was a 4 on paper. It starts looking like a 3. Marie's giving Tierney what's the word? He's not having confidence in Marie, so he's overcompensating, not doing his job. Suddenly, him and Saka are not talking. Reece James freedom of the right-hand side, and you already know the results. So we was in issues in that regards. I just feel the IQ, and I do feel a lot of it's on the players because it sounds stupid, but I genuinely think these guys don't know who they're playing because what I saw against Lukaku against Arsenal is that you don't know what this striker is. You don't know what he's about. Like me and you are just casual.
You didn't do your homework.
Yeah, like me and you know, you can't let him get in channels or it's long. You're going to get savaged. We're acting like we've never seen him play before. The last thing you want to be doing is getting this tight on Lukaku because that's what he wants. He wants you to get this tight so we can pin you down, roll you, and absolutely spin you. And it's like, you just felt too many times Mario was like,
brother, have you done your homework and things?
No, man are
But yeah,
holding their
man.
hair when Lukaku's breathing. He's trying to appeal to the ref and holding his hair. He's moving mad, bro. He's peeing me off. That's why I'm happy he's been dropped. A lot of lessons I think Arteta has learned. I think he's managing so far Partey a bit better. I think he's, again, I criticised him a lot for playing Aubameyang off that left, despite the fact that I know he's scored a lot of goals from days playing him through the middle. I think there's less chopping and changing, as I said. There's 1-2 elements I think Arteta is learning, but I don't know, man. I think I'm not anti-Arteta. Like, I want the manager to do well and whatnot, but I'm not so much for you that if you got sacked tomorrow, I don't feel you could have any complaints. Because I think from last November, we had a mad run of like 10 games or something. You should have been sacked then. And I think one thing with Arteta, there's a lot of propaganda to the point where it saves him for some reason, where I'm not saying we should have kept Emre. I just believe in fairness. You live by the sword, die by the sword. A lot of things Emre was killed for, Arteta, and there's a lot of excuses, and you shouldn't really survive, because if anything, the more experienced man should be cut more luxuries because he's walked the walk, Again, and Arteta set himself decent standards. He won the FA Cup, It's just last season, I just feel, on top of everything, the lack of real pressure on Arteta's job, even down to today, it affects us negatively. Like, you know yourself, Smith Rowe semi-final against Villarreal, it's nonsense. What else has he done? Even down to how Edu and Arteta are talking now. Like, at a point, after winning these 2 games, it's like he's off the chopping block. But it was almost like, if you listen to the way they speak, they're like, wait till everybody's fit. There's been a crazy turnaround. Like my man said, he's got 9 lives, bro. Like, mad lines. And I don't want the manager to do wrong. I want him to do well. I praised him when he done well. But the problem with Arsenal, and I don't know if it's the same at Spurs, when it's going well, you're not called anything when you're gassing it and everything's happy. But the minute you just say, yo, what's that about? You're mad negative and you're this, that, and the other. And that's a jarring thing. It's like you have an agenda, as they say.
All the time. It's like, if you're not talking positively about the club 24/7, you're not supporting the team. Basically, you're not a real fan. And it's like, you can't even call out what is clearly the deficiencies that you're seeing week in, week out, and especially like when it's patterns of things that you've been seeing for months. Like, I'm giving you factual evidence here, but man still want to act blind because we believe in our manager, and if you don't get behind him, who will? And it's like, hold on, come on, man. Like, we have to actually call it out for what it is, man. For me, I feel like you got to keep it honest at the end of the day. People want to hear real opinions and real thoughts. I don't want to hear people just supporting the team for the sake of supporting. I want to hear, if you are going to support, cool, counter my argument if that's what I'm saying. Counter this. But a lot of the times it's like, nah, man, you man are haters. You man are Arteta out. You've always got to be one side or the other. You can't just be objective and trying to call it for what it is.
This is it. And I always relate it to parents. I always said, when your mom tells you off, she's not saying it because she don't love you. She's telling you need to clean your room or you need to do whatever. She's not always just gonna say, oh, what a good lad, whatever. Like, and I just feel football fans, there's too emotion, and as you know, there's too much agenda driven, man. Last thing I want to ask you though, score prediction. I had to.
I think it'll be a tight one, in all honesty. Unless there's like some mad mistakes where it kind of ends up, but I think it'll be a draw. Oh, well, 1-1. I'm praying. I think 1-1. Yeah, I'm going for 1-1.
I can't lie. I was saying 2-1 each way before this. I've been converted. I'm saying 1-1. I think if anyone's to win, it's 1-0 Spurs or 1-0 Arsenal. I don't think there's much goals in this game because, again, 1 goal apiece from open play. We've got better players than that suggests, but man, it's crazy, bro.
It's just not been clicking, bro. It's just not been clicking.
It's mad. You got any content to come out? Obviously, we're going to plug. When this goes on YouTube, his information will be in the description. Love for putting this link tree up to, but let them know all your content.
Appreciate that, man. I'll be dropping something on Monday reacting to the game Spurs I View. Stoppage Time TV should be dropping Monday as well.
Come on, shout the guys as well.
All links in my Twitter bio, Instagram bio, on the link tree as Tino posted there. And THFC show next week as well with Tobes and Henry. Should be some point Tuesday.
Sub to this thing, people.
Appreciate it, bro, man.
So man, obviously make sure you're subscribed to Fuad. As you can see, I am. It's unfortunate he's such a sound guy. Don't know about the toilet club he supports, but it's cool, man. Make sure you support him. I can't lie, he's a cool guy, but I want him stressed to come Sunday, fam.
Hey, trust me, both ways, bro. It goes both ways, trust me. Hey,
oh man,
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Bye though, man. People, we're gonna leave you to enjoy what's ever left of your Saturday. Make sure you're subscribed to myself. Make sure you're following Fuad on all his socials as well. Information provided, and we're out, folks. Peace.
Splendid.